Entertainment Group production in association with Speed Vision.
From historic Sebring in South Central Florida, it's round 10 of the 11-race series for the FIA GT Championship. Making their debut on American soil, I'm Gary Lee alongside Jeremy Dale. And Jeremy, it promises to be an interesting afternoon because Mother Nature may stick her finger into it. The clouds continue to build. We've had a few sprinkles overnight, and there are showers in the forecast.
Yeah, there are, and you can see the cloud formations right now, and this race got pushed back for its starting time because the FIA GT cars had a special wet weather practice session before the race instead of their warm-up this morning.
This is an old airport facility, was used to land the big B-29 bombers in World War II. And so the track is very, very rough in some spots.
Yeah, it is. You can see this is one of those old runway taxiways, and those B-29s were very heavy. These runways are about 3 feet thick, so they can get a little bumpy, although this front straightaway is about all that's left of the old runways and taxiways here at Sebring.
3.7 miles, 17-turn racetrack. Of course, the home of the 12 Hours of Sebring back in March. However, the areas of turns 16 and 17 have been redone. That one straightaway has been narrowed. The turns have been resurfaced. We'll talk about that momentarily as the cars roll off the grid. 38 cars have qualified for this 3-hour timed event. So as we take a look now at the top 15 in qualifying, the Lato and Soper car will be on the pole. Soper will start the race. Bernd Schneider will start outside. Then Yannick Damas and Alessandro Nannini will comprise the second row. As you take a look at the top 15. Right now, the question is, can Bernd Schneider overhaul Lato and Soper in the point standings?
Well, boy, the Mercedes has been on a roll lately, and we just want to make note of Greg Moore there starting 5th. Mercedes-Benz has brought Greg Moore in to run one of these cars. The Mercedes has really been steamrolling these last few races, and the BMW Team McLaren cars have been struggling. Although Soper and Lato are on the pole here at Sebring, the Mercedes-Benz cars have been very, very quick.
Well, so far this season, 4 victories for Bernd Schneider, but in the first 3 races of the year, he only had a second in the second outing at Silverstone, so he only had 6 points in 3 races.
And just in case you were wondering, that was not a Mirage there, that was a Morgan. That was a Morgan +8 you saw at the back of the grid there, the blue car, and that car competing in FIA GT2 category.
So 2 races in 1. We'll have 38 cars, and once again they'll come around for the start. So we'll take this break and come back to historic Sebring with the FIA GT Championship.
It's a fantastic 5 for the Chicago Bulls. The team of the decade now has a fistful of thing in the world like Sports Illustrated. Get into it.
The FIA GT Championship round 10 from Sebring, Florida. Gary Lee along with Jeremy Dale as we take a look now at this 3.7 mile, 17-turn racetrack.
And what a classic racetrack with so much history. Just a fantastic racetrack. Great areas for passing down in the hairpin, the famous hairpin down there. And of course, at the back of the circuit, you can see that new pavement there. That's part of the area that has been changed, and we'll be able to cover some of that with our onboard cameras, but much smoother, but not as much fun to drive, is what the drivers say.
They come down for the start. Soper and the BMW McLaren will bring them off that final corner down the straightaway. There is the green flag.
And not a particularly well-formed start there. You can see the car still streaming out onto the, it looks like Mercedes up in the lead here. Soper falling back to second. You can see some wet patches there on the concrete.
That left-hand turn one.
We've got a Porsche and a Mercedes off the racetrack at the exit of turn 1 here.
That was Bernd Schneider. Schneider starting outside the front row apparently got off the course and lost a number of positions.
And you can see the McLaren up front. And there's Schneider. Looks like he's back in about 10th place. Got pushed off the racetrack one way or another.
You can see right now the racetrack is dry, but that well could change. This is a 3-hour timed event.
And that BMW has dropped back to 3rd, going down to the hairpin. There's Schneider already working his way through traffic.
Here's another look at what happened from the onboard. Oh, he gets tapped by Soper. Goes all the way around between the uprights. He just kicked a field goal.
He did, and the Porsche had to get off the racetrack there just to avoid any contact. The Porsche not making any contact with the Mercedes, but the Mercedes definitely making contact with the McLaren BMW.
That is number 7, Yannick Damas Porsche that we're riding aboard right now.
And this is the turn 13 area.
Now the safety car being dispatched now, and I have to wonder why it is out there.
Now this is their safety car that follows the group around on the opening lap. So that car lines up behind the grid, takes the start, and then follows around on the opening lap and will pit after this lap.
There is the Almond Straight. This is that new section that has been narrowed by about 75% over what it was last year and what it was for the March 12-hour event.
Yeah, it used to be very wide and very bumpy. You can see the new pavement there. Now it's very smooth, but it doesn't have anywhere near the same amount of character that it used to have.
And the drivers almost to the person do not like that new section.
Now, I haven't talked to anyone yet that likes this new racetrack. Now, many of these drivers have never run here at Sebring before. Many have, of course, Hans Stuck, Thierry Boutsen. There are many that have run here, but many haven't, and so they never had the opportunity to experience what Sebring was.
Nannini is out in front right now in the number 10 Mercedes, being chased by the Porsche number 7 of Yannick Damas, who is sharing that ride this weekend with Bob Wallach.
And these are the Panos cars, conceived in America, built in England by Adrian Renard, of course, with big Jack Roush built Ford V8s up front.
David Brabham and Peter McCarthy sharing that one. Eric Renard.
Look at the BMW going up the inside, under braking at the hairpin. This is this great braking zone down here. We're going to see action down there all day long.
This is the gap again between first and second.
And you can see that there are parts of the racetrack that still have not wet patches, but certainly they show some wetness. So it's very humid here today, and the water is taking a great deal of time to evaporate off the racetrack. Even though these cars are on slick tires, you can still see some slightly damp patches out there right now.
Of course, crew members, particularly the crew chiefs, will take a look. Oh, here is Sick. He is spun on the course in his 62 Porsche. Takes a couple of markers with him. But we started to say that the crew members will be watching the sky, because again we had some sprinkles overnight, some light sprinkles this morning, but the skies are certainly threatening now. Down the Almond Straight once again, that new blacktop section, headed to turn 17, the final right-hander before coming out on the main straightaway.
And the Porsches have not been that impressive in practice and qualifying. This car seems to be running very well in the race right now. They must have made some changes to these cars, because the drivers were not very happy with them leading up to the race. Car running very well right now, staying in very close contact with the Mercedes up front, and the BMW another couple of seconds behind this Porsche.
Well, of course, they make 2 stops on American soil. They'll wrap up the season next week at Laguna Seca in Monterey, California. So a battle for not only a win here, but also a very tight points battle leading into this event.
You can see the Mercedes-Benz there sparking as the titanium rub blocks on the nose and around the perimeter of the body. They, of course, they run that car very low to the ground. A V12 powered car, mid-engine.
Back on board now in the Hans Stuck number 6.
And this is the factory Porsche car entered by Porsche AG. Of course, there are many of these Porsches that run in customer trim, but this is one of the factory cars.
Hans is sharing this ride with Terry Boutsen, and he might be fun to watch in the rain, because he is recognized, as we go on board, he is recognized as one of the premier drivers in the wet.
Absolutely. You can see the sequential gearbox there. It's just a lever that he will pull straight back for upshifting. Oh, one of the Marcos off the racetrack there. There goes the Morgan going by. Probably the fastest Morgan ever built.
Not particularly pretty race car.
No, not attractive. Not attractive.
back from the rear, it's just plain ugly. To be real honest about it.
I'll bet you that there's someone that likes the way that car looks.
His mother.
You and I are not in that camp. But look at that Morgan. Very interesting piece there with the V8 power plant front engine. A car that was essentially designed back in the 30s. Here we go, back on board with Stuck, and there's a good look at that sequential gearbox. Just pull it back.
Now, he's not using a clutch.
No, he's not, and you can see he has to go through every gear. There's no skipping gears. Often in a racing car, you can go from fourth to third to first. You can skip through the gears, but with a sequential box, you've got to go through every gear.
Nannini continues to lead from Sebring, Florida.
White, you're the Snake.
I sure am. Meet my new driver, Larry.
I got this, Snake.
Hey, the kid's fast.
Whoops. Guess I'm on empty.
Here, use this. The official NHRA MasterCard. But watch it, son. It's a killer.
Be a mover and shaker yourself with an official NHRA MasterCard credit card through MBNA. To apply, call now for your choice of 9 custom NHRA cards. You'll get a low introductory annual percentage rate, no annual fee, and all the benefits it takes to really shake things up.
That sure is some card, Mr. Prudhomme.
It's smoking.
Yeah, I'm calling to apply for one of those NHRA MasterCards.
The kid's smart, too.
Apply now yourself for the hottest card in town, the official NHRA MasterCard. Call now and get things shaking.
Every Thursday, lift off with Speed Vision's aviation programming. Take flight Thursdays. Catch us if you can.
Gary Lee and Jeremy Dale back with you from Sebring, Florida, the FIA GT Championships, and pit activity already early in this competition.
Yeah, this is the Lister Storm, powered by V12 Jaguar. This looks like one of the factory Porsches. You can see that you cannot do any tire changing while you are fueling. You can see the fuelers are in, and for that reason, many times these cars will make pit stops and not change tires because it takes an extra 20 or 30 seconds.
Nannini continues to lead. There's the gap back to second position. Nannini being paired with Marcel Tiemann this weekend. They lead the GT1 division.
And that's the best look at the new part of the racetrack. Of course, the cars used to drive over that same piece of tarmac, but it used to be a very fast sweeping corner back onto the Ullman Straight.
Yannick Damas back there in second position, so a Mercedes is out in front. Factory Porsche back there in second. Damas sharing the ride with Bob Wallach this afternoon. A 3-hour timed event.
This is under the bridge leading onto the main straightaway. Big bump right there, and you can see those two drag strip lanes. They run a little amateur drag racing setup out here at Sebring, and consequently it leaves these streaks of rubber as you lead onto the main straightaway, and that's going to be something to watch for if it rains here at Sebring today.
Back on board the Porsche now. And again, you keep an eye toward the sky to see those clouds build and the potential for rain here this afternoon. And should we get rain, those rubber lanes that you're talking about along that drag strip will be a real problem area.
Yeah, they will, because the cars will really want to loosen up going over those two strips of rubber. And I've seen guys spin on those strips of rubber leading out of the main straightaway in the wet.
You see a pass right there as the GT1 going on by some of the GT2 cars. There's that Morgan again. So obviously a race within a race as you watch upper right the sequential gearbox inside the Hans Stuck Porsche. I like that, a sequential, no shifting or no clutch work.
Yeah,
I could do that.
Well, yeah, maybe you could. I'm not going to commit.
Slight stutter there on your part.
I'm not going to commit to anything just yet, but
you're going to let me drive your shifter go-kart, right?
I have a shifter kart. It's got a 6-speed sequential gearbox, so you can try that at any time you want. You can see how close to the wall Stuck gets there coming out onto the main straightaway. Part of this reconfigured turn 17 area means that these guys actually are faster down this main straightaway, because it's more like a drag race out of turn 17 leading onto the main straightaway. So very close to the wall and very quick down the main straight here.
Well, once again, you're watching Hans Stuck in a factory Porsche. Porsche running in second position right now, his team car with Yannick Damas, but your leader overall is Alessandro Nannini. And there is the gap between first and second. And there is one of the BMW McLarens back in third position, Cox and Ravaglia. We talked about
this is a nice battle up front with these three different manufacturers. Of course, the BMW-powered McLaren was on the pole, and as I mentioned earlier, the Porsches had not been very quick in practice and qualifying, but it looks like everyone has got their cars running very well here early on.
Martin Snow off course in number 67. We talk about the manufacturer's points. The Mercedes right now leading by 11 points over the team BMW Motorsports. In the point standings, J.J. Lado and Steve Soper, winners of 4 events this season, now enjoying a 7-point margin over Bernd Schneider. Schneider also a winner of 4 races this season, but as we said, the Mercedes got up to a very, very slow start, and the BMW McLaren really shot out in the lead early on.
Yeah, this is the first year for this Mercedes team. Of course, there are no Mercedes customer cars. All 3 cars that are entered are factory supported and backed cars. A reported budget of over $30 million to run these cars. So if you think you want to race FIA GT cars, you better come to the party with a
hefty,
pretty big satchel of cash.
Well, now these cars realistically by definition have to be product cars. They have to be made available to the general public to drive on the street.
They have to be street legal in Europe, and technically you have to build the cars and sell them. We have some pit action here. The 58 car in the GT2 class. But yeah, technically you have to be able to buy these cars. The question is, when is too much technology, and it's really been arms escalation over the last 2 years with these GT cars, to the point where really I think of them more as GTP cars or Group C cars with a production-based body. I mean, they are mid-engine cars. That Porsche under the skin really is closer to a 962 Porsche than any 911 that's ever been built.
Now, how many would they have to produce?
They have to produce 25 cars to make the oh, here's a good shot of the Mercedes. These guys love to flash their lights at the slower cars, and they don't hesitate.
Well, these are the leaders going through the back markers right now. There's that Morgan.
Whew,
ooh, that was very close.
Big slide there, turn 1. Very quick corner, 3rd or 4th gear through turn 1, and a big slide by Nannini there.
Now you started to say they had to build 25 a year.
They have to build 25 cars, period, for entry into the GT Championship.
And keep in mind, these are $1 million race cars, so if you want to buy one of those 25, you cough up $1 million.
Yeah, there's a ceiling of $1 million. They can't charge more than $1 million. That doesn't mean they have to make money selling the cars. They can lose $200,000 or $300,000. It's up to them. That's just a form of subsidizing their racing program.
Well, there's a real bargain. You buy a $1.3 million car for $1 million.
Some could call that a bargain.
So Nannini continues to lead in the Mercedes over Damas, Ravaglia, Moore, Soper, and Bernd Schneider after that first lap spin is back to 6th.
For over 40 years, one magazine has captured America's love affair with automobiles better than any other, Car and Driver. And if you act now, you can get a full year subscription for only $14.97. Each month, Car and Driver brings you the inside story on what's hot and what's not in the automotive world. You'll get the first sneak previews of today's new cars, plus straight talk from the industry's most respected journalists. And no other magazine gives you more road tests than Car and Driver. Comparison and head-to-head testing that pulls no punches, pitting car against car, from premier luxury vehicles to SUVs, to affordable compact models. And if you call now, we'll include with your paid subscription this classic car and driver logo windbreaker. A guaranteed great look both on the road and off. Call 1-800-825-7581 right now to order a full year of car and driver for just $14.97. A savings of more than $25 over the newsstand price. Call now.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Patrick.
And I'm Reg Abbas, your host for Aviation News.
Turn to us each week for the most comprehensive coverage of the aviation industry, with in-depth reports of all the top stories and issues.
The latest developments in the aviation business.
Air safety.
Military aircraft.
And the space program.
So, whether you're an avid flyer or an occasional airline passenger, watch Aviation News.
Catch Aviation News Thursday nights at 7:30 and 11:30 Eastern.
Welcome back to Sebring, FIA GT Championship Round 10 here at Sebring, Florida. The Mercedes and Porsches up front. Really the factory juggernaut up front right now. The top 6 positions covered by factory-entered cars. You can see the carbon brake rotors glowing there on the Mercedes on the entry to turn 3.
You can also see some heavy traffic out in front of the leaders right now. So you have a Porsche in second, BMW McLaren back there in third, and both those are chasing the number 10 Nannini-driven Mercedes with the slower traffic out in front.
And it's been fairly static up front here, with the Mercedes leading about a second gap back to the Porsche, another second or so back to the factory BMW McLaren, going by the GT2 Viper and one of the GT2 Porsches. The Vipers for a while tried to contend in GT1 and they just couldn't do it. They couldn't compete with these very high-tech GT1 cars, so they reconfigured those cars to run back in GT2 category, and they're leading the championship right now.
Gary Lee and Jeremy Dale from Sebring, Florida, round 10 of the FIA GT Championship, with 2 races wrapping up the season on American soil. Next week we travel off to Laguna Seca in Monterey, California. I tell you, the fans love to see these cars over here.
Well, and I think it's great. We're covering both ends of the country. A lot of sports car racing fans down here in Florida, in the southeast. Of course, the Sebring 12-hour regularly over 80,000 fans for that event in March. And of course, there's a great legacy of sports car racing in California, where a lot of sports car racing has occurred from the 50s right on through the 90s.
You can see some of the transporters there back in the paddock area. That section used to be racetrack last year before this Allman Strait was narrowed. Now, they actually shipped everything over from Europe, the cars, the transporters, all the spares, and the real work will be done by the crews this week in transporting these cars from here in South Central Florida to Northern California.
Yeah, and they'll have to get them prepped to run again next weekend. Then, of course, there's a minimum 2 to 3 day drive to get the cars to California, so they'd lose a lot of that prep time on the road.
And a totally different racetrack at Laguna Seca.
Night and day compared to this racetrack. A lot of elevation changes, not nearly as grippy. Here's the, side by side.
And a problem, Steve Soper gets together with Greg Moore in the Mercedes and takes a complete 360.
And luckily, there's a lot of real estate out there. He was able to spin that car without doing a lot of harm. Of course, he didn't touch anything. He certainly will have flat spotted those tires. But the racing here in the FIA GT Championship, very close, and these factory-back teams running very close together. And of course, the BMW and the Mercedes coming together down into turn 1. Let's take another look at it. And it looks like Soper was trying to make a move up the inside on Greg Moore, and Moore just heads for the apex. And of course, the other Mercedes does an excellent job not to collect Soper in the McLaren.
And as you indicated, it's so wide right there. A typical racetrack would have either a gravel trap out there or a concrete barrier of some kind.
And the key to that is that Soper gets to the brake pedal quickly, locks those brakes, and that car comes to a stop. If he doesn't lock those brakes, he's going to get to the tire wall.
Well, Soper, of course, right now leading by 7 points over Bernd Schneider. Soper along with his teammate J.J. Lato, and they are teaming again here this afternoon. So he right now would be out of the points. Only the top 6 receive points. 10 points going to the winner, 6 points for second. Then it's 4, 3, 2, and 1 through the top 6 positions.
And it looks like Bernd Schneider has been able to get around Greg Moore in the other Mercedes in the aftermath of that touch or near touch with Steve Soper. Well, I think that was a touch. Bernd Schneider has taken his car around Greg Moore. There you see Moore coming through the traffic.
So Schneider's picked up a couple of positions. When we went to break, he was in 6th, now up to 4th position. Remember, he spun on the opening lap after some initial contact with Steve Soper.
You can see how bumpy it is there coming onto the main straightaway here. I went out and watched those cars the other day, and it is a real ride. It's a real handful to keep those cars under control. And a couple of guys did spin just over those bumps onto the main straightaway. You can see the different colored mirrors. That's the easy way to tell the Mercedes cars apart. Moore and Alexander Wurz in the car with the orange mirrors. Of course, Schneider in the car with the yellow mirrors, and Nannini and Tiemann in the car with the blue mirrors.
A factory effort with the Mercedes, all factory backed.
And of course, Greg Moore, not really that familiar with sports car racing. Of course, we've seen him in kart Indy cars and has done a phenomenal job. There's a good look at his helmet in there. But this is his first trip to Sebring and his first run in these cars. And of course, he can't really help these guys out with local knowledge at Sebring, but he will be able to help them very significantly at Laguna Seca next
another
weekend.
week when they get to Monterey, California, because he's driven the kart PPG cars there.
Here we are back with the leader. Now look at how Nannini goes out and uses that extra bit of pavement there, leading onto that. That's a very slow corner, by the way, and very blind. Second gear. It's more like a street circuit down this back straightaway with those walls lining the racetrack and lining the inner perimeter of the corners.
Another factory back car. That's the Porsche of Yannick Dalmas. And there is Ravaglia in the McLaren.
And boy, when these McLarens came on the scene a couple of years ago, people said, wow, that's quite a car. And about a year later, the Porsches came on the scene, and they upped the ante in terms of technology and development. And then these Mercedes showed up, and people couldn't believe it. And really the question now is, has this gotten out of control? Has it gone too far? These really are just mid-engine racing cars with production-based looking bodies on them.
We saw Nannini last season in the ITC. How similar are these cars to the ITC cars?
Well, these would be quicker cars than those cars because even though the rules... Oh, here's Soper and Lato in after that incident. And again, you can see the fuelers go to work, and the rest of the crew has to wait. You can see the tires have been laid out. They'll want to change those tires after the spin. Okay, the fuelers pull out, the car goes up, and now the tire changers can go to work.
And see the driving position in the cockpit, in the center of the cockpit.
You get a good look at that center driving position. That, of course, that's great for balance in the car. You can see a little damage to the right front there. Oh, he stalls it. You can hear it cranking. The crew has to go inside. You know, you would think
hear them yelling as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to hear what they're saying, but of course they're speaking German, and I don't. But you would think that they would have a plug-in battery there ready to go to plug into that car to give it a boost, because often the onboard batteries aren't enough to crank these cars. And this is awful for these guys, losing about 30 or 40 seconds here.
Well, keep in mind, they're in the hunt for the championship right now. Lato and Soper leading the points by 7 over Bernd Schneider.
And this is really going to hurt this team. There's J.J. Lato right there talking to the crew member. Steve Soper in the car. And this is very interesting to me that there is no jumper battery on this car. Of course, you can't push start the car with the sequential gearbox. So it has to start under its own power, and they've got it refired. Oh, he stalled it again.
Oh my. Well, only 3 drivers have a shot at the championship, being Schneider, who is now in second, or Lato and Soper sharing the lead right now, and this could go a long way in allowing Schneider to close the gap. Right now he is in 4th position after that first lap spin. And now they're changing to the rain tires.
Well, this is very interesting, but they've easily... Oh, I can't believe the lack of coordination in the pit
like
lane.
A Keystone Cops movie.
It really is. It's bizarre to me that this is the championship leading team, and their pit stop is so poorly orchestrated and managed.
The Collard Baldy Porsche is also in the pits, as you can see the rain starting to fall now, as these teams are electing to go to the rain tires. So as we had surmised earlier, we're looking at the clouds. There was that shot of rain, and we now have the rain, so this could have some bearing on the outcome.
And you can see the rain in that camera shot. Of course, you can't see any significant water buildup on the pit lane yet, but here in Florida, it can get pretty nasty pretty quickly.
Is ponding a problem on this racetrack?
Oh, it's a phenomenal problem, especially on the main straightaway, which doesn't drain well at all. And when we get back to the main straightaway, you'll be able to see there are two concrete walls, of course, that define that straight. And the water gets trapped between the two walls, and it just stays on the straightaway.
So you can see the windshield wiper now on your lead car of Nannini, as some of the crews have elected to stop already for the rain tires. So Mother Nature showing her hand here at Sebring. Very hard rain along the front straightaway.
At first, flying machines captivated the world. Then, the vague theory of flight became a comprehensive system of warfare. Aviation's legendary pioneers and fighting aces established the basic techniques of air combat still used today. Now, World War I's quest for the air is captured on this 4-tape video collector set with the most stunning authentic footage ever assembled. To order 4 Years of Thunder, call 1-800-WINGSPAN. That's 1-800-946-4772.
So tell us about your boat.
1950, 20-foot Chris Craft runabout, kept it all original. 6-cylinder Chrysler, still running strong. Mahogany deck, original chrome triple horn, chrome spotlight, even got the same flags it came with.
Yoo-hoo!
Yep, everything's original. Right back to 1950.
Speed Vision Network. Yep, it's all original.
The rain is falling harder here now in South Central Florida as your leader Nannini is in the pit lane.
And of course, a very slow pit lane speed limit here, 60 kilometers per hour. That's about 37, 38 miles per hour. You can see the crew ready for him. Of course, there are 3 Mercedes cars, so he pulls up right through the other 2 crews there. They leave a big hole. He drives right up the middle. So they've elected to change tires before they fuel. So they're making that tire change now. Of course, no choice but to change tires. Only 2 guns allowed, 1 on each side. You can see the tire changer goes from the left rear up to the left front.
You can see the crew for Bern Snyder is standing by with the number 11 pit board.
And in goes the fuel now on Nannini's car.
Now they are burning pump gasoline.
Yeah, it is gasoline, but it's very good gasoline. I wouldn't quite call it pump gasoline.
But it's not alcohol.
It's certainly not alcohol. And you can see the fueler's done. Refire the car. Of course, they have to shut off the car while they fuel it. And that is how you do a pit stop.
It's curious they cannot refuel and change tires at the same time.
And at the same time, it's not like the fueling, you know, we're used to seeing fueling in Indy cars, in stock cars. Here's some action here.
There's Anders Olofsson.
And I venture to say that car is still on slick tires.
Yeah, he's still on slick tires.
But we've seen pit stops in all sorts of different disciplines of racing, and the level at which the fuel goes into these cars is amongst the slowest we ever see. So it takes a great deal of time to fuel these cars.
As Hans Stuck brings the factory Porsche to a stop. You saw the, we call it the idiot board there, with instructions on what to do from the cockpit.
Yeah, I slightly resemble that remark.
Well, that's a television term. And we use idiot cars in television, so.
You can hear Stuck talking to his, talking to the team there. You can see he's just.
Hear the air guns.
You can see he's just raring to go. He's got that head moving, just raring to go.
One of the more animated drivers in the circuit.
And generally very impressive in the ring. So I'm sure he's quite happy about this wet weather.
He almost took a wheel with him.
He knows Sebring as well as any of the drivers in this championship, and has certainly run here in the wet before, so we will keep a close eye on Hans
How slow
Stuck.
he is there in that pit lane. there's where we are, just off to the right there as he goes under the pedestrian bridge. Now he picks up the throttle and heads for turn 1.
And a key component in grip on rain tires, as we see one of the other Mercedes into the pits, we don't know which car yet, we can't see a number. A key component in grip on rain tires is the heat in the tire, and that's a big part of what a rain tire does, is it's able to generate heat under these wet conditions and get the rubber very hot. That's why they get destroyed so quickly in dry weather conditions, because they overheat very quickly.
Once again, you can see how hard it's raining now along this front straightaway, and see the problem he had going over that rubber.
A big slide there going over that laid down rubber from the drag strip, and I'm surprised he doesn't have his headlights on. I would turn those headlights on.
That's Nannini in car number 10, the early leader in this race before his pit stop. This is actually a 2-stop race for these cars, a 3-hour timed event.
Well, this early stop might throw a bit of a wrench in the works in terms of staggering pit stops for some of these teams.
Some drivers love to race in the rain. Some drivers hate it. How about you?
I always enjoyed the wet. You know, it's a whole new challenge, and you really have to go looking. Here is the Greg Moore car, Alexander Vortz, and I can't see if they've made a driver change in there. I'm willing to bet they have. I always enjoyed racing in the rain. It's a whole new challenge, and you really have to drive on different areas of the racetrack and go and find the grip. Here's the Hans
Look
Stuck.
at this, Hans Stuck spinning on the wet tarmac. This is very uncharacteristic of the guy who goes so well in the rain.
And that is his first lap out on those tires. So, as I mentioned, those tires do need heat in them. They need heat in them to function properly. Look at the McLaren back there in the background on slicks, one of the Gulf cars. Look at how slow that car's having to go compared to these cars up front. Yeah, that's the Gulf team McLaren.
See Team Davidoff.
Another easy way to tell these cars apart, now that most of them have their headlights on, is all of the GT1 cars have to run with white headlamps. All of the GT2 cars have to run with yellow headlamps. So when...
If you're not colorblind, that's okay.
Yeah, but it's great for the cars that are out on the racetrack, because if you're a slower GT2 car and you see white headlights coming up behind you, you know that it's not a competitor, it's a GT1 car, and you can just let that car through if that car's lapping you.
See how hard it's raining now, but the light's still not on the Nannini Mercedes. As we'll take this break, come back with more from Sebring.
White, you're the Snake.
I sure am. Meet my new driver, Larry.
I got this, Snake.
Hey, the kid's fast.
Whoops, guess I'm on empty.
Here, use this, the official NHRA MasterCard. But watch it, son. It's a killer.
Be a mover and shaker yourself with an official NHRA MasterCard credit card through MBNA. To apply, call now for your choice of 9 custom NHRA cards. You'll get a low introductory annual percentage rate, no annual fee, and all the benefits it takes to really shake things up.
That sure is some card, Mr. Prudhomme.
It's smoking.
Yeah, I'm calling to apply for one of those NHRA MasterCards.
The kid's smart, too.
Apply now yourself for the hottest card in town, the official NHRA MasterCard. Call now and get things shaking.
Speed Vision, the first and only 24-hour network devoted to automotive, motorcycles, marine, and aviation. With in-depth news and information programs, racing series and events from around the world, rare historical films and documentaries, instructional programs that put the viewer at the controls, lifestyle shows that cover every aspect of cruising, and the Lost Drive-In series. Speed Vision, catch us if you can.
The FIA GT Championship, round 10 from a very wet Sebring, Florida. The rain continues to fall, and we have to wonder how long before the ponding begins along this front straightaway.
Well, it's raining very hard. Here we are on board with Hans Stuck, and that is his spin.
That was just after he made the pit stop to change to the rain tires.
Yeah, look at how hard it's raining now. You can already see some standing water there in the pit lane.
Uwe Olsen, the former Porsche Super Cup champion, making a pit stop, and he's back underway as one of the Vipers pulls out. So everyone now making that pit stop a little early than had been planned.
Oh,
another
boy.
Mercedes off course.
Oh, boy. I think that was Nannini. Yeah, it was.
It was Nannini. Let's
Down,
watch again.
Down at the hairpin, he gets it a little hot, gets it locked up, and instead of turning left and staying on the pavement, he turns right and doesn't stay on the pavement. Now, that would have done a lot of harm to that car, but of course, it's not going to help his track position at all.
Well, there's the Cox Ravaglia car. That's the BMW McLaren. So once again, many teams making a stop earlier than had been planned to switch to the rain tires.
You can see how exiting that corner, he doesn't track the car all the way out to the exit of the corner, because the exit of the corner is very polished. So watch as he comes down into the hairpin. He's not on his normal braking line, which would be way out on the left. He spends a bulk of that time. Oh, another one of the Gulf cars off here.
That's John Nielsen. Thomas Bescher, the number 2 car. He may be stuck out there.
Well, luckily there aren't a lot of sand traps here at Sebring, because most of the corners have a lot of runoff room. I was getting back to the other BMW McLaren, how he will go and find the grip, and that's what you have to do in the wet. Here's a quick replay. This is a very quick section of racetrack there, and he's fairly lucky. He's got those brakes locked up, and that sand does help to slow him down a little bit.
Well, he's back on course now, so that will not be the last driver, I'm sure, we see off course here in the rain at Sebring.
Yeah, tremendous amount of water now forming up all around this racetrack. And these parts back here, not too bad for standing water.
But you mentioned the front straightaway is a problem area, so we'll watch to see what happens. He goes to that new section of racetrack into turn 16, the right-hander onto the Almond Straight, the very now narrow Almond Straight.
Now, this newer pavement will not be polished like the old pavement, because this is the first weekend it's been raced on. So it will not be polished like this older pavement. So you could pretty much drive normal lines on that stuff. Look at a little death wiggle there.
Uwe Alsen back on the track after his pit stop to take on fuel and rain tires. This, of course, is a weekend that's being shared with the World Sports Cars, the Exxon Supreme GT cars. Over 200 drivers here this weekend from 21 different countries. And unfortunately, the race fans are forced to watch the race in the rain.
Well, they're a hardy bunch down here in Sebring, and they'll come out in just about any kind of conditions. Look at this. Oh, my. Very, very heavy standing water now developing even back here in the turn 14 area.
Ravaglia, a shot of Ravaglia there again in number 9.
See how he's way, way wide of that apex, and then he pinches off the exit of the corner and pulls the trigger over on the grippy part of the pavement. Completely different lines that you must drive in the wet if you're going to go fast.
And you want to get by somebody in a hurry, because that water spray coming off the rear of the car really diminishes the visibility. So the rain continues to fall here in Sebring.
Are you tired of playing Twister with messy rope, tape, and twist ties? Then you need the Handy Bundler, the world's first endless tie wrap dispenser. No matter what the size, Handy Bundler tightens to a perfect fit every time. It's lightweight, fits comfortably in your hand, and secures anything as easy as 1, 2, 3. No more tangled rope, messy twist ties, and sticky tape. Now neatly wrap cable and TV wires for a better appearance. Tie garbage bags tight in seconds. Secure luggage to the car for safe travel. Look, ordinary tie wraps just aren't long enough, but the Handy Bundler's cord extends to any size. Large or small, it wraps them all. It's perfect to clean up newspapers. Wrap audio and speaker wires. Take Handy Bundler outdoors to support tomato plants, train ivy, or bundle an out-of-control garden hose. Keep one in your car for roadside repairs. You can even protect children from dangerous places. Take Handy Bundler to work to tame the wildest computer cables. Secure boxes for shipping. The Handy Bundler is ideal for crafts. Make your own dried flowers. Neatly store holiday lights. Decorate for any festive occasion. And the Handy Bundler is virtually indestructible. Even the law can use Handy Bundler to detain criminals. You'll find hundreds of uses for the Handy Bundler around the shop, at home, in the office, and on the job. Now, in this limited time offer, you get the Handy Bundler. Over 50 feet of durable nylon strapping that'll hold just about anything. And 100 locking clips, all for only $19.95. And it comes with this guarantee. Use Handy Bundler, and if you're not convinced it's the best tool ever, return it for a full refund of the purchase price. Order now.
Have your credit card ready and call 1-800-863-5522. Or send $19.95 plus $5.95 shipping to Handy Bundler, P.O. Box 2987, Framingham, Massachusetts. For faster delivery, call 1-800-863-5522.
We are back at a very wet Sebring. Gary Lee and Jeremy Dale as we continue to watch the BMW McLaren of Ravaglia. But right now we can tell you in the rain that Schneider is right now the fastest driver in the wet. He's touring this track at like 4 and 5 seconds faster than anybody else.
Yeah, and he had, of course, accumulated an early deficit there because of that first lap spin and was sitting a ways back. But it won't take long running those kinds of laps to bridge the gap and bring the car up front.
Well, Ravaglia right now being shown as your leader as you go back on board with Hans Stuck.
And Stuck always looks very relaxed in the wet. Oh, obviously looks very relaxed in the drive, but driving in the wet can be a little bit tense. You can see how much longer those braking zones are, how much more time there is between downshifts there. Whoa, hello.
That got his attention.
Quick correction there by Stuck. You can see how much longer there is between downshifts. You can also hear the turbo wastegate chirping away there in the background. That familiar whistling sound that these Porsches have been making for years and years.
Well, right now, Bernd Schneider has made his way up to second position after spinning on the opening lap. Ravaglia continues to lead in the BMW McLaren number 9. You have to wonder how long this will continue at this pace, with this much rain falling before the ponding takes effect along the front straightaway, and they had to bring out a safety car.
Yeah, well, that is a distinct possibility. And of course, the Sebring 12-hour race has been stopped a number of times because of excessive rain. So that, of course, is the last. That's the last thing you want to do. Preferably, you bring out the safety car and drive everyone around behind the safety car. Let's not forget we have. Oh, that looks like Nannini.
Nannini with a problem.
Up against the wall. This is the end of the back straightaway. Up against the wall. Let's see if we can get this car moving. You can see the
well, he's climbing out, so apparently the race is over for that Mercedes.
Not very friendly to the radio there.
Not very happy.
And of course,
slams the door and walks away.
Nannini involved in that helicopter accident. You can see his right hand there. His right arm was severed in a helicopter accident. Of course, at that time he drove Formula One cars and was not able to recover sufficiently to drive Formula One cars, but is quite capable in these sports cars.
Has limited mobility now of that right arm. Interesting spot to loop it right there.
Well, maybe that's an indication of the level of standing water that we're getting back on that back straightaway. Of course, that's a bit of an unknown quantity back there because this is the first time we've raced on this precise configuration. Look at this battle now. Schneider has caught the McLaren.
This is the battle for the lead.
Leading onto the back straightaway here, and of course they're coming down to where the yellow flags are.
This is down where Nannini spun the Mercedes. So you can see that gap between first and second. Again, he doesn't want to stay too close because of that spray coming off the vehicle.
And let's not forget, we have a tire battle going on here as well. Michelin's on the McLaren BMW, and a very big effort by Bridgestone for the Mercedes cars.
This is where they come off that turn 17 area and hit that slick spot right there over that rubber laid down from that drag strip.
Now, when I raced here in the wet, I always used to try and come onto that straightaway inside those lines, so you didn't have to drive over them and just pull the trigger up the inside and and not even drive over those strips.
Great view right there of the yellow headlamps on the GT2 cars, white on the GT1.
You can see him wide of that apex there, trying to stay off the polished pavement. And I'll tell you, this carousel is notoriously bad, especially the exit, which is why he's pinching that exit off.
Once again, Ravaglia leads Schneider. Number 20 car of Eric Bernard, that's one of the Pano's entries, is now in 3rd position.
And you can see Schneider's right there now. They'll want to get through this slower traffic if the Porsche comes up the inside. And then Schneider will probably take a run. Well, I would hope he'll take a run at the BMW.
So the rain offers one challenge, but going knifing through traffic offers another challenge in the rain.
Well, you have to be more careful. You know, you have to, you just have to be more careful. I mean, look at that. You know, these GT2 cars, they don't want to just pull over and let you go. You know, of course, they're running their own race, so they can't afford to lose the time. Here we are back on Nannini's car. Looks like it's not going anywhere. We'll be back to Sebring shortly. Stick with us.
To help capture the realism for Kart World Series, Argero Wells driver Max Pappas let us take his car out for a spin.
How's she feel? Feels pretty sweet. The sequential gearbox is amazing. I don't even have to get off the throttle to shift. Beautiful, you're doing great. I'm still getting a little push in turn 2.
Oh, we'll put one turn into the front wing.
Hey, I can see you guys now. Hello. This is smooth riding. I wish it had a cup holder. That would be nice.
PlayStation. I'm Ironhead Hayward. I'm used to challenges, and I challenge you to try Zest deodorant body wash. Now, I hear you snickering. But Ironhead, aren't body washes for ladies? Ow! Listen, chump, Zest doesn't have heavy moisturizers. But Ironhead, what's with this thingy? That lather builder works with Zest body wash to give you twice the fresh-smelling lather of this bar, and it rinses cleaner, so you're cleaner, more refreshed, period.
Zest body wash. Get cleaner, more refreshed.
Get zestfully clean.
Protect your child from needless injury in an automobile accident. All children outgrow their car safety seats, but may still be too small for seatbelts designed for grown-ups. And when seatbelts are uncomfortable, kids don't wear them properly, creating the potential for danger. The answer? SafeIt, an award-winning product designed to adjust your child's seatbelt so it's worn safely and comfortably. SafeIt just slips onto the seatbelt and directs it over the shoulder rather than across the neck of your child. This crash test shows what happens in a head-on collision. The dummy in the background wears the seatbelt incorrectly, while the dummy in the foreground is properly restrained with SafeIt. Help your child get in the habit of buckling up properly. It's a habit that will last a lifetime.
Call 1-800-596-8822 and receive your SafeIt for just $14.95 plus shipping with a full 90-day money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-596-8822. Or send check or money order to the address on your screen.
Well, more trouble back at Sebring with cars slipping and sliding all over this 3.7-mile, 17-turn and very wet road course now.
Those, of course, the two team cars.
Uwe Alton in the 57 Porsche. As Ravaglia continues to lead overall, this is action in the GT2 class.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, a twin spin.
Yeah, a Viper involved there. And this is before the break, we were talking about how slick it was here in the carousel, and there's an excellent example of how slick it is in the carousel.
Olivier Beretta, number 51 Viper, a twin spin. I've not used that term since I was jockeying years ago.
Well, that was a twin spin. That was also well choreographed. It was, although they're probably not trying to do that on purpose.
Joey Chitt would be proud of that move.
He would be proud of that move, especially, you know, without making contact.
So we still wonder if and when a safety car might come out, go to a full course yellow. There's Uwe Alton again. Because of the ponding on the racetrack, you see the rain collecting along the edge of that corner.
And of course, what happens here is officials are out there, you know, they're looking at the racetrack, but at the same time, the drivers will call back to the team managers in the pit lane, and they'll say, listen, this is getting a little silly, it's getting a little dangerous, or it's okay. And the team managers will relay that information to the officials, and they'll add it all up, and they'll say, okay, it's time to throw a pace car out there.
There are many ways to get laps in a race car. Go to a driving school, for example. But how does one get experience in the rain except to go out and race?
Well, you know, you have to do that. You can see the yellow flag still waving there for the Nannini car. You just have to go out and drive. And a lot of people, when they are testing or practicing, they don't go out and drive in the wet. And really, that's the only way you're going to get good at it, is to go out and drive in the wet.
There is the Soper Lato BMW, and they've had all kinds of trouble today. Been in contact with a couple of drivers off the course once, and again, they are battling for the points championship right now, leading the points by 7 over Bernd Schneider. But right now, they are not in a position to gain any additional points here this afternoon.
Well, most of their trouble so far has been in the pit lane.
And look at this.
Oh, we've had a change
Bernd
up front.
Schneider has taken the lead. Bernd Schneider, after spinning on the opening lap in the opening turn, the first turn, has now taken the lead. We had alluded earlier to the fact that he was so much faster in the rain than anyone else, and now he's gotten around Ravaglia.
Yeah, we saw his lap times, 4 to 5 seconds a lap quicker. And, you know, like anything else, racing in the rain requires a good package. Some cars are better in the wet than others. Some teams and drivers do better with their setup. Of course, I'm willing to bet that most of these cars have just been set up to run in the dry. They're not set up to run in the wet. And of course, the tire issue that we talked about earlier, because that can be a tremendous advantage or disadvantage depending on the tire and how it works with the chassis.
As they work their way by one of the privateers, one of the Davidoff cars.
And look at that. That's a great shot there. It gives you an indication of how much standing water and how much spray there is.
Well, there is the Alexander Wirtz and Greg Moore car. Another of the factory-back Porsches, and it's moving very slowly on the racetrack.
Now I have to wonder why that car is moving so slowly. We saw that car in the pit lane. We know they put rain tires on it. And that is Greg Moore. Now, Greg's never driven around here in the wet, and he's not that familiar with these cars. And that is a tough combination, to be in such a awesome race car that you don't know well, that has so much speed potential on a racetrack you've never driven in the wet.
Windows were also fogging up. I mean, maybe they spent $1 million on this car and forgot the defroster.
Well, you know, generally they think of these things.
I guess I won't be getting a courtesy car from Mercedes, will I?
Probably not. And look at that.
He's getting passed by the GT2 cars. So obviously there is something wrong with that car. It's not just the fact that Greg Moore does not have a lot of experience in the rain. Stumbled just a bit when he came off that corner. Love the air brush work on these cars.
Well, I can tell you, I've driven here in the wet, and it can be a little bit intimidating. And as I said, if you're unfamiliar with the race car, and make no mistake about it, these cars are probably not that easy to drive in the rain.
Bernd Schneider took the lead on lap 21, but we're not really counting laps as such. It is a 3-hour timed event here in South Central Florida, as they stop for their 10th race of the year on American soil, then truck across the country to wrap up their season. Monterey, California, the Monterey Peninsula, and Laguna Seca Raceway, where we'll celebrate the 40th anniversary of that legendary track.
And what a racetrack that is, but there's no shortage of history right here at Sebring. Phenomenal amount of history here. Of course, racing began in the early 50s here, and it has been a place where people have come for years and years to watch sports car racing.
You remember your first time here?
Yeah, I do remember my first time here. I was down driving a showroom stock car. As a matter of fact, I just hung out to watch a race, and someone said, "Hey, why don't you drive with us?" And that ended up being a season-long deal in a Dodge. So
the drivers say they like this track because there is area to make a mistake, wide runoff areas off the corners.
Well, and I think they like it because it's challenging, and that's the unfortunate part about this new addition at the back end of the racetrack between 15 and 17, is that the two corners that got eliminated were two of the most challenging corners in road racing. this section of the racetrack right here, as we see the two Paynos cars come down into 17. These two corners back here were so challenging and so much fun, and corners where good driving can really make a big difference in lap time.
David Brabham in the white number 5 and Eric Bernard in the black number 20, part of the Paynos team out of Atlanta, Georgia. Using the Roush Ford engines, an effort realistically by Americans to win Le Mans.
Yeah, that is their big goal, is to go out and win the Le Mans 24-hour race. There you can see Greg Moore back in the pit lane.
Tires and fuel. Second stop for that car, and here are the two Paynos entries right together on the racetrack. They, of course, have been contesting this series throughout Europe, as well as the GT series in this country. And so, boy, wouldn't a podium finish make them ecstatic here this afternoon. Coming back with more from Sebring.
If you're a real car enthusiast, you should be reading Auto Week every week. For true car lovers, once a month is not enough.
Auto Week has the latest news because it's a weekly. You can stay up on top of everything.
All the new models, concept cars, SUVs, even collector cars are in Auto Week every week.
Auto Week will give you information on new models that really isn't available anywhere else.
All the racing news and analysis you could ever want when it's still hot.
I'm into going racing with my buddies, and Auto Week gives us information to talk about before it's old news. Anything with wheels, Auto Week has.
Call 1-800-445-3800 for 52 weeks of Auto Week and get these 3 special issues free. Places, the ultimate shopping guide, and our complete racing fan guide with track maps, driver profiles, everything. All for just $24.95. Call 1-800-445-3800 now for Auto Week.
If you only had time for one car magazine, Auto Week would be the one to read.
Call now.
Well, there's a right way to do this and there's a wrong way to do this. Sometimes you feel like a projectionist and some days you feel like a garbage man. I don't know what you call this, but this ain't jigsaw puzzle. I don't know what the hell it is. I mean, I'm supposed to unspool this and have it ready in 45 seconds. I got 42 to go. I'm screwed.
Catch Bruce Dern on Speed Vision's Lost Drive-In every Saturday night at 11 Eastern at midnight Pacific.
Well, the rain has lightened up just a bit as we come back from Sebring, Florida with the FIA GT Championship. Gary Lee and Jeremy Dale, and Bernie Schneider has worked his way back up to the front after spinning in the first turn on the first lap.
And you can see he's back in amongst some back markers now, one of the Vipers, and that little yellow car is a Lotus Elise. I don't know if that's the V8 or the 4-cylinder powered car. Look at the water, look at the standing water as we look at one of the Paynos cars in pit lane here.
Eric Bernard in car number 20.
You can see the gun is on, ready to go. Driver change. They can change drivers while they fuel. They just can't do any work on the car. And here's another look at the front straightaway here as the Mercedes, again, trying to, well, I shouldn't say again, I should say still trying to get by these slower cars through turn 1 here.
Oh, and look, he's off course. Almost off course.
A little wide there and into a big puddle. You can see how these, and of course one of the Gulf cars off down at the hairpin. You can see how these corners, they puddle up at the exit where the curbs are. And now the Mercedes is even in thicker traffic here because the 2 cars he's trying to lap are catching another slower Viper.
That Lotus is actually a right-hand drive. The Mercedes are left-hand drives. The BMW McLaren's a center driving position, but the Lotus has a right-hand drive with the gear shift off to the right of the driver, and almost contact. There was contact.
There was contact there, and you know, this is the problem when you're racing with another competitor. Even though these quicker cars are coming up and trying to lap you, the Mercedes, of course, being the more powerful car, doesn't have as big advantage in the wet because the wet is more about putting power to the ground. Look at that. Not a lot of room there.
Contact again.
Not a lot of room there.
So the Mercedes gets by the Lotus and sets sail for the Viper.
Whew, and that's a fairly bold move.
That was a gutsy move on the high side. So once again, Vern Schneider having all kinds of trouble getting through the lap traffic.
You can
First
see the
contact right here with the Lotus.
And you can see the Viper was defending its position. The Lotus trying to go around the outside, and Schneider trying to take advantage of that situation.
You can see the groove starting to dry out now just a bit, but still some spray coming off those rear tires. And you can see the rain is still falling here on the backstretch area.
This Mercedes, a 7-liter V12 mid-engine car, sequential gearbox. You can see the air scoop, the inlet for the motor up above the windshield there.
Once again, Jeremy, as the track starts to dry out, these drivers will have to find some wet spots to keep the tires cool.
They will, although
that's not a problem right now.
Right now, it's not a problem, and it's so humid that I don't anticipate it drying that quickly. It's going to take quite some time to dry, so they may be able to bridge that out to a pit stop. You can see they're all still using wipers, and there's still plenty of water on the racetrack.
One thing that the American race fans have noted, the numbers are very small on these race cars. You know, the sponsorship logos are very large, and it's very difficult to read the numbers.
Well, the American race fans, what about the broadcasters? I mean, we often have trouble identifying these cars. Look at more problems for one of the Gulf cars. That's the at least the third spin we've seen from one of the 3 Gulf cars. There's another one of the Gulf cars. There are 3 of those McLaren, BMW powered Gulf and Davidoff sponsored cars.
Again, Vern Schneider, after that opening lap spin, has worked his way back through the field, lost a number of positions when he went off course in the first turn, but now he's back up in front. His concern right now with some clear track out in front of him is once again negotiating his way gingerly through the lap traffic.
And that's another very slick part of the racetrack there as you leave turn 11. Very, very slick. Some tarred patches down on the racetrack there, and they get very, very slick. This is all new through here. It used to be very bumpy through that very quick kink there. Turn 14 was very, very bumpy there, and was very difficult to take that corner flat out in any car. It could be done, but it was very difficult. Now it's quite a bit easier. One of the GT2 Porsches here spun.
That's the Rossler Kaufman Porsche number 55. Again, that section on the back right through here, that long almond straight, used to be about 4 times as wide as it is right now, and you'd see about 5 and 6 different grooves into turn 17.
Yeah, and it made passing so much easier. And it made that braking zone much more interesting, and it's really unfortunate because I think they've taken a lot of character away from this racetrack.
Appears to be the Beretta Viper that Schneider is about to put another lap down. It's really unfortunate. The weather was just beautiful yesterday, day before, sunshine, a high near 90 degrees. The front moves through. The cold front brings the rain with it. We saw some early morning sprinkles, and then about 30 minutes into this event, the skies opened up.
Well, as we said, these cars did get, they added an extra 30-minute free practice session before the race, which pushed back the start time of the race, but that was a good call by the FIA because these teams had not run. As you said, the weather has been beautiful, and they were not able to run in the rain because it had not rained. So it was a real opportunity for these teams to get the cars out in the wet weather.
That was Justin Bell that was in that white Viper. Justin Bell, the son of Derek Bell. Justin now second in the point standings, still with a shot at the championship.
Look at the team cars here side by side. Boy, I see that Gulf McLaren way offline there. These Gulf McLarens having so much trouble today here in the wet at Sebring.
I invested in the Associate's Degree program at ITT Technical Institute for a career in computer-aided drafting. The skills I received at ITT Tech gave me the basics I needed to succeed. I've had 3 promotions in just 3 years, and I'm now a project engineer. The name ITT Tech was a big factor. I really love my position and the responsibilities that go with it.
Thanks, ITT.
Call 1-800-446-4130 for details. 1-800-446-4130.
I used to wonder if I was too old to go back to school.
Now I know I wasn't alone. I used to worry about my future.
Now I know I have one.
I used to wonder if I made the right decision.
Now I know. I should have called sooner.
Get a start on your future. Call ITT Tech at 1-800-446-4130 for an informative brochure. That's 1-800-446-4130.
Explore the world of aerobatics, home-built aircraft, state-of-the-art fighter planes, and restored warbirds with the top aviation experts, including Pete Conrad and Patty Wagstaff. On Sport Flying, only on Speed Vision.
Back for round 10 of the FIA GT Championship as the rain continues to fall. You see the lights on the Viper. That's the number 51, the Beretta entry.
And really, these GT2 cars much closer to production cars than the GT1 cars. So we see the Mercedes in the pit lane, Greg Moore getting out, Alexander Wirtz getting in. You can see the seat inserts come out and go back in. Each driver, of course, has his own seat insert to go in that car.
Alexander Wirtz, a former winner of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. We saw him win that event.
And of course, he's headed for Formula One next year with the Benetton team. So these will be his final 2 races with the factory Mercedes team.
And of course, Mercedes brought Greg Moore in because he drives a Mercedes in the kart PPG series.
I'm sure he was thrilled to be invited. Of course, their season is over now, so and testing, the heavy-duty part of the testing season has not yet begun, so it's kind of some downtime for Greg. So it's a great time for him to
spend a rainy afternoon in Sebring.
Yeah, take a couple of weeks off and go do some more racing.
And again, with very limited time in a closed cockpit sedan type of race car.
Yeah, boy, that's a stretch to call these sedans, but
compared to what he's used to driving, this is a sedan. I have not said taxi cab, that's for sure.
Well, no, they're a long way from being taxi
Although over
cabs.
in Germany, the police cars and the taxi cabs are all Mercedes, just not these.
You're really not getting that loaner car now.
I want to start talking up Porsche and get my Porsche loaner car.
You know, I like the McLaren because it's got the center seat with the 2 seats on each side, and that means you can take friends with you.
Or go to the grocery store and put your bags of groceries on the other side.
Yeah,
baby car seat.
Yeah, you got the baby seat.
The big dog could ride along with you.
It's so much more practical.
Hans Stuck, Terry Boutsen. We've seen Hans already off course once this afternoon in the factory Porsche, which is always very uncharacteristic as you go on board now. And you can see the rain collecting on the camera lens.
Our poor guys there trying to wipe the lens of the onboard camera, and that's not doing a lot of good. So we'll just have to look through those drops. Of course, the Porsche, one of the few cars that has the twin wipers because the.
Oh, looky here.
Is this Stuck
on the replay?
Again?
Stucky again comes around. His second spin this afternoon.
Very, very surprising from Hans Stuck, who knows this racetrack as well as anyone. That doesn't help us out a whole lot. Well, we can certainly tell he spun, but he knows this racetrack as well as anyone. He's raced here many times in the wet, and I'm very, very surprised to see him having problems like this.
That's the Nielsen car in front, the Thomas Becher, the gentleman sportsman, and John Nielsen. And again, Bernd Schneider, the German, in a German-produced car up in front.
Who has no experience here at Sebring. Of course, his teammate Klaus Ludwig has plenty.
Did you see that again?
Oh, yeah.
He hit that slick spot coming through turn 17. The rear end wiggles just a bit. tell you what, these guys have to stay on top of every little move that car makes in the rain.
Well,
There's
you know,
no spot to rest now on this racetrack.
driving a car in the wet, driving a real racing car in the wet is quite an experience, especially in wet weather like this.
Bernd Schneider continues to lead. Ragbaglia is still second. Now the Panos of Brabham McCarthy is now third. Then Damas, Stuck, and J.J. Lato.
Time is running out for you to get the most bone-shattering crash video ever made. The Crash Experience, the ultimate extreme in crash action. Yours for a limited time only through this exclusive TV offer. But wait, order now, you'll also receive absolutely free Crush This, the most awesome collection of monster truck destruction ever. That's right, both videos for the price of one, just $19.88. And there's more. Yeah. Call within the next 30 minutes. We'll include a third video, Bad Boats, absolutely free. It's drag boat devastation like you've never seen. There it is, 3 action-packed videos for the price of one, a $60 value. Yours for the next 30 minutes, just $19.88. Time is running out. Have your credit card ready? Call 1-800-247-4700 or send check or money order to the address on the screen. Order yours today. Call 1-800-247-4700. Order now.
For in-air product reviews, instructional programming, safety tips, and new product introductions in the field of aviation, zero in on the wonderful world of flying, only on Speed Vision.
Welcome back to Sebring, FIA GT Championship from a very wet Sebring, Florida here, and you can see...
Oh, looky here, the safety car is now out. We have gone finally to a full course yellow.
And the reason is...
ponding.
Lots of water on this racetrack, and you can see in that camera shot, you can see the water coming down. So the rain eased off for a time, but it has now picked up significantly, and at this point it's just not safe to race. So the solution is put the safety car out there, hope that the rain slows down, that we can dry out the racetrack a little bit and go racing again.
The only other recourse would be to stop the race, bring out the red, stop the race, stop the clock on this 3-hour timed event, and see if the rain then dissipates.
Well, I'll bet whoever's driving the pace car, I'll bet they're disappointed that it's raining so hard, because otherwise they'd probably have the top down.
There's Maribaldi in the number 17 Porsche.
As we mentioned, one of the customer cars. There are a number of customer Porsches. Of course, there are no customer Mercedes cars. They're all factory cars. And of course, there are a number of customer BMW McLaren cars. Wow, look at that water. The best thing to look at here is look at the bodywork down just behind the wheels, whether it be the front or the back, and look at how much water gets kicked up onto that bodywork. And that's where you'll see all the water streaming off the cars. It's just a phenomenal amount of water.
The safety car came out on lap 34. And once again, the laps, although they're being counted, this is a 3-hour timed event, as it will be next week in Laguna Seca. And let's hope we have better weather as we move across the country to the Monterey Peninsula. In the point standings, again, we've talked about J.J. Lato and Steve Soper, his teammates, leading Bernd Schneider by 7 points, but Claudia Hurtgen and Bruno Eichmann in the GT2 class now leading Justin Bell by only 1 point. They have 55, and Justin Bell, driving a Dodge Viper, now has 54 points. Team Viper, they've already wrapped up the manufacturer's title in GT2. As you take a look again at the safety car leading Bernd Schneider. So we're under a full course yellow, and the rain continues to fall here in Sebring, Florida.
To help capture the realism for current World Series, Archero Wells driver Max Pappas let us take his car out for a spin.
How's she feel?
Feels pretty sweet. The sequential gearbox is amazing. I don't even have to get off the throttle to shift.
Beautiful, you're doing great.
I'm still getting a little push in turn 2.
Oh, we'll put one turn into the front wing.
Hey, I can see you guys now. Hello. This is smooth riding. I wish it had a cup holder. That would be nice.
PlayStation. They're problem officers.
You actually bought a Pacer. A Pacer. The single most butt-ugly car ever built. And you're asking me if there's a problem? No. No problem. No problem at all.
Speed Vision Network. No Pacers, no Gremlins, no Yugos. Here's what's coming up on Speed Vision.
Gene Kelly, they're not, but I guess when it's raining and your teammate is out there enjoying the challenge, there's not much else to do in the pit lane.
Well, we're going to let them rehearse, and then we're going to try and come back to them a little bit later. Here we are, back under green. Bernd Schneider out front in the Mercedes. And this will be a real advantage for him. Nothing but clean racetrack out in front of him. No other cars to lap. He ought to be able to put in some good solid laps here.
There's the Eric Bernard, number 20, Panos.
And of course, one of the Team Gulf cars. Here's Wirtz now. You can see Wirtz just got into this car, so he's not too familiar with driving in the wet at this stage, at this fairly tricky racetrack.
How much information really can one...
Big slide on the opening lap. Remember we talked about how these rain tires need to get some heat in them, and those tires will not be warmed up yet.
I was about to ask, how much information can one driver really pass along to another about track conditions?
Well, you can pass along a fair bit of information, but until you actually get out on the racetrack and you experience it, it's very difficult to know exactly what to do. And don't forget, Greg Moore has not driven here in the rain and is not familiar with these cars, so that's not going to help Wirtz out too much. Here we go back with Schneider into the hairpin. No significant harm done here, but I'm surprised that he's pushing that hard on the opening lap.
Once again, Schneider, if you have just joined us, had to come from an off-track excursion on the first lap in the first turn. He started outside the front row, but then made some slight contact with Steve Soper, went offline, spun, lost a number of positions, and ran the first hour or so of the race back in 5th or 6th before finally making his way once it began to rain. He then was picking off the cars and lapping at about 4 or 5 seconds faster per circuit.
And of course, Schneider making a run at this championship right now. They've been very strong the last 4 races.
And he has demonstrated that late in the season, he really comes on. Happened last with the ITC.
And that has really got the McLaren BMW team of J.J. Leto and Steve Soper worried, because they have not been as strong. And really now they're more in a defensive mode as far as this championship goes.
Well, Soper and Leto as teammates have won 4 times this year, and again they enjoy a 7-point margin over Bernd Schneider, who has also won 4 times this season. But Bernd got up to a very slow start, so he's picked up some momentum in the last few races.
You can see Alexander Wirtz getting to know this racetrack. Phenomenal talent, as we said earlier. Oh, that's one of the factory Porsches. Is that Stuck again?
Is that Stuck, or is it Terry Bootson now in the car? Is it Stuck?
Well, that's 3 times now.
So much for what we were saying about what fun it is to watch him in the rain.
Well, I mean,
it's still fun, but
it's kind of fun.
Not for him today. Looking at the season, in fact, they go to 8 different countries. They have 2 stops in England, 2 in America, and 2 in Germany. J.J. Leto and his teammate Steve Soper were victorious at Hockenheim. They also won at Helsinki in the city streets. They were victorious at Spa, and also in Italy, where Bernd Schneider took his first victory at the Nürburgring, then won at the A1 ring, and also at Donington in England.
Man.
Looks like he might be well on his way to victory here at Sebring.
Yeah, boy, he's certainly not holding back. He's wanting to leg out as much of an advantage as he can, but at the same time, taking some fairly big chances.
Of course, he's in radio contact with the crew, so he has to know where second place is right now as he went around to Eric Bernard in a Panos. The rain has eased just a bit, but the track is still very, very slick after that length of time behind the safety car.
And whatever these Mercedes cars have, the combination seems to work very well in the wet. Obviously, the drivers are all top flight drivers, but the combination of the car must be excellent. Here's the Yannick Dalmas, Bob Wallach factory Porsche, which has had a much less eventful day up to this point compared to their teammate.
Early on in the broadcast, they were running back in the second position as Ravaglia took the early lead in a BMW McLaren as Schneider made his way through traffic after that off-track excursion. But right now in the rain, he continues to lead here at Sebring.
White, you're the Snake.
I sure am. Meet my new driver, Larry.
I got this, Snake.
Hey, the kid's fast.
Whoops. Guess I'm on empty.
Here, use this. The official NHRA MasterCard. But watch it, son. It's a killer.
Be a mover and shaker yourself with an official NHRA MasterCard credit card through MBNA. To apply, call now for your choice of 9 custom NHRA cards. You'll get a low introductory annual percentage rate, no annual fee, and all the benefits it takes to really shake things up.
That sure is some card, Mr. Prudhomme.
It's smoking.
Yeah, I'm calling to apply for one of those NHRA MasterCards.
The kid's smart, too.
Apply now yourself for the hottest card in town, the official NHRA MasterCard. Call now and get things shaking.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the Outdoor Life Network is. Call 1-800-OUTDOOR to find out how you can start receiving the Outdoor Life Network or to subscribe to our detailed program schedule. Do you know others who are interested in the rich rewards of the great outdoors? Tell them to call 1-800-OUTDOOR. Call us and don't miss a minute of the Outdoor Life Network.
We would anticipate a pit stop in the next couple of laps for this driver, Bernd Schneider, and he will, as we saw going to break the last time, Klaus Ludwig had the helmet on, and he is ready in the pit lane to take over the driving chores of number 11.
And again, he'll have to get in this car. Now, they drove a little bit in the wet this morning, but it was not nearly this wet this morning in that
here
extra,
he comes.
in that extra 30-minute free practice. So now that sign says 50 miles per hour. That is the sign for professional sports car. On the other side of that, it says 60 kilometers per hour. So the FIA GT speed limit, quite a bit, about 12 or 13 miles an hour less than the professional sports car. And of course, these guys, you wouldn't want to go much faster than that on a wet pit lane.
Aside from the tack, how can they really tell how fast they're going?
Well, of course, they would have a button in there which would electronically control the speed. And the other thing is all of these cars have dashboards that you can scroll through different parameters, and most of them have speed on them. So you can also use that as a backup.
Well, you see Bernd Schneider has climbed out. Klaus Ludwig, his teammate, now in the cockpit.
And of course, no reason to change tires here. As a matter of fact, changing tires would be a significant disadvantage because this set of rain tires, wear is not a big factor in the wet. And as we've said earlier, the heat is very important. So if you were to take this set of rain tires off, which already has a lot of built-up heat in them, that would be a real disadvantage.
Well, now, Bernd Schneider has not always teamed. As you look at the Brabham and McCarthy-driven Panos, Bernd Schneider has not always teamed with Klaus Ludwig. In fact, he won at Japan with Marcel Thiemann, and he won at Donington with Alexander Wirtz. So this weekend here in Sebring, he's teamed once again with Klaus Ludwig.
And you can see the Panos team now is in the pits. Of course, this is a front engine car. All of the other cars in GT1 running at the front are mid-engine cars. And this is quite an effort by this Panos team to mount a challenge with a front engine car. Mind you, the motor in that car sits so far back that you can hardly call it a front engine car because the motor sits so far back in the car, and you can see the driver also sits very far back.
But with the engine in front of the driver, it's also a very hot race car.
It can be quite a bit warmer than these cars, although heat not a problem today because of these weather conditions, obviously.
So David Brabham, the son of Sir Jack, the former world driving champion, climbs out of that Panos, and Perry McCarthy will drive the final stint here in the rain at Sebring.
And Klaus Ludwig doesn't look to be having too many problems here. Of course, Ludwig tremendously experienced in all sorts of racing. And of course has raced here at Sebring many times. Here's the Panos leaving the pits now.
In the point standings, it's the Lato Soper BMW McLaren out in front, but then it's all Mercedes with Schneider second, Nannini and Thiemann tied for third, then Ludwig, then Alexander Wirtz back in 7th position. Raffinell is now 8th, Bagley and Cox tied in 9th, and Maylander is now 10th. So Klaus Ludwig had a chance to watch the opening couple of hours from the pit lane. He saw the rain fall. He saw the emergency safety car go out and watched his teammate come from an off-track excursion to finally take the lead. And now he will drive the closer.
You know, when the car through turn 17 there is such a good look at how much water is on the racetrack and how much water these rain tires are capable of moving. You know, the amount of water they pick up off the racetrack and move is just phenomenal.
Do these guys ever test in the rain? Does a team actually test in the rain?
A good team will test in the rain. And of course, there's no other way to do wet weather tire development than to test in the wet. So sometimes tire companies will pay the team to go wet weather tire testing, and they will wet the track down if they can't luck out and look at all this traffic down into the hairpin. If they can't luck out and run into some wet weather, they'll wet a track down and they'll do some wet weather tire testing.
What a variety of race cars you have there.
A very eclectic mix of race cars in this series.
The Morgan, the Porsche was in there. There's the Mercedes. Is that a Marcos we saw there?
There's the little Lotus up in front that the Mercedes is catching here, we talked about earlier. This is the new Lotus Elise. One of these cars is V8 powered. One is 4-cylinder turbo power. A very light, nimble, excellent handling car. Maybe not quite powerful enough to compete with these big V12 Mercedes. Of course, all these cars are restricted by inlet restrictors. That means they have a restrictor that restricts the amount of air that the motor can take into the intake system, and that is what limits the power.
Hello, I'm Derek Daly. Have you ever wondered what it's like to push a racing car to its limits? Well, for most of my life, I did just that, and now I want to share those thrilling moments with you at the Derek Daly Racing School. You can walk through our doors with no experience and have the thrill of a lifetime, from the classroom all the way to the racetrack, and we're just minutes from the world's most exciting city, Las Vegas. To begin your racing adventure, simply call 1-888-GO-DEREK and begin to live your dream.
If you're a real car enthusiast, you should be reading Auto Week every week. For true car lovers, once a month is not enough.
Auto Week has the latest news because it's a weekly. You can stay up on top of everything.
All the new models, concept cars, SUVs, even collector cars are in Auto Week every week.
Auto Week will give you information on new models that really isn't available anywhere else.
All the racing news and analysis you could ever want when it's still hot.
I'm into going racing with my buddies, and Auto Week gives us information to talk about before it's old news.
Anything with wheels, Auto Week has.
Call 1-800-445-3800 for 52 weeks of Auto Week and get these 3 special issues free. Places, the ultimate shopping guide, and our complete racing fan guide with track maps, driver profiles, everything. all for just $24.95. Call 1-800-445-3800 now for Auto Week.
If you only had time for one car magazine, Auto Week would be the one to read.
Call now.
The FIA GT cars making their American debut on a very wet Sebring racetrack here in South Central Florida. In the final hour of this competition, as you take a look at Steve Soper and J.J. Lato, they've had a tough time this afternoon.
Yeah, they've had a tough day, and boy, are they ever backed into a corner as far as this championship is concerned, with Bernd Schneider and Kliss Ludwig out in front. Of course, Schneider, their main competition for the championship. It's not looking good for them at this juncture, but still one race to go at Laguna Seca in California.
The Porsches right together. That's Bob Wallach. And behind him, Hans Stuck in number 6, sharing that car with Terry Boutsen. Wallach shared the ride with Yannick Damas, who had it up in the top 5 early in this race.
And boy, a lot of talk over the weekend here at Sebring. I mean, everyone obviously very excited to see these cars because technically they are so interesting. But the big question mark is who's going to pay for all this? These cars are very expensive not only to purchase, but incredibly expensive to run.
Well, there's a question mark over this series in Europe. There's a question mark over sports car racing in this country.
Well, there is, because the SCCA has just reformed the Can-Am Championship, which will be the USRRC, the United States Road Racing Championship. And those rules will be almost identical to WSC, the Professional Sports Car Racing sanctioning body's premier class. So what's going to happen with the WSC cars / Can-Am, we do not know. The one thing we do know is that SCCA and the USRRC has picked up the sanction for the 24 Hours of Daytona, which of course was Professional Sports Car Racing's premier event. Here's a replay of the Porsches in traffic here.
Well, of course, the professional sports car really at this point through Andy Evans would have control of Sebring for their 12-hour,
yeah,
but that could be yanked as well.
He holds the lease on the racetrack, so it's really his event because he owns the sanctioning body and he owns the lease rights to promote the events at the racetrack.
But the airport authority down here could actually yank that lease. That is their discretion.
Well, it is. You know, there would be contracts and there would be conditions in those contracts, and we don't know what those say and what the particulars are. But the problem for Andy Evans and Professional Sports Car Racing is that they've now lost the Daytona 24-hour race, and that's really the crown jewel for sports car racing in North America.
Well, too, under the SCCA sanctioning of Can-Am, from what we're hearing, many of the world sports car teams are planning to go over and run that series. That would certainly deplete at least one premier division of professional sports car.
Absolutely, and but no one has firmed up their schedules yet. No one has firmed up their television deals yet. So there's still a lot of work to be done, and a lot of the teams are really holding their breath at this stage, and no one has really firmed up a lot of plans.
All we can tell you right now is that car right there with Klaus Ludwig on board is leading here in the 3-hour timed event, the FIA GT Championship, stop number 10 of the 11-race series. And after today, we hop on an airplane and fly across the country, not upside down, but we'll be in Laguna Seca in Monterey next week.
Are you up all night with nasty neck pain? Now discover the ultimate sleeping experience, the Mount Fuji Oriental Buckwheat Pillow.
Procedures can give you a new head of hair and a whole new outlook on life.
Well, as we come back to you from Sebring, we can tell you that right now the number 8 J.J. Lato and Steve Soper BMW McLaren is back there in 4th position. That would, if they finish the way they're running right now, would give them 3 points. And that means that there would be a tie in the points championship at 62 apiece for J.J. Lato, Steve Soper, and Bernd Schneider, should the race finish as they are running right now, with Bernd Schneider leading and the Lato and Soper car back there in 4th position.
Well, and after that very long, drawn-out pit stop that we saw earlier in the event, actually very early in the event, They would do well to salvage any points here, because that pit stop cost them an awful lot of time.
Well, they won the last outing in Italy. They have just not been that competitive here this afternoon. As you can see, the rain has dissipated, and now you can see a groove starting to dry. The darker color, the darker gray there, is the drier groove. But remember, these cars...
Oh, did you see that? Did you see that fire under the car there? There was just a big puff of fire under the car. Now, I know that these cars on the overrun will sometimes belch a little fire out of the back of the car, but look at under that car.
Looks like there's fire under the car.
Look at under that car.
This is the Lato and Soper car. We have to wonder if there's a fire in there someplace.
Well, the best angle will be from the back. And yes, oh yeah, that car is on fire, and he's not slowed down at all yet. That car is seriously on fire. Look at it under the front there.
So Lato is smoking, the car is on fire. Is he even aware of that, though?
Well, I'm sure his team...
Well, he has to be now.
He's slowed down now. I'm sure his team has told him that car is on fire, and if he doesn't know it, he's going to know it shortly.
So it could be most appropriate to say that his championship hopes are going up in flames here this afternoon in Sebring.
Oh, this is just a huge blow to this team. Now, he's pulled it off here at the carousel. What?
Well, you see an extinguisher blast there.
Yeah, well,
so
that's...
Lato is climbing out. He is okay.
That's not going to get the job done. Someone needs to get at that car with an extinguisher close up, not from over that fence, not from over the wall. You can see Lato just grabbed the extinguisher there, and he's
going to put the fire out himself. How often have we seen this happen in sports car racing, where the driver actually grabs the fire bottle and puts the fire out?
Well, he knows the car better than anyone, and he knows where to go to.
And he throws that one down and grabs another one. It's interesting, the safety workers are handing him the fire bottles and letting him do the work.
As if this team didn't have enough work to do. Now, here's the firemen, and they're not in an incredible hurry here to get to that car, and I have to wonder about that. That fire's just about out at this stage, as if these teams didn't have enough work to do to get this car ready to go to California next weekend. What a tremendous blow to this championship. And that's probably $30,000 worth of bodywork there, by the way.
Well, you would have to think that they'll have a spare car back in the hauler someplace to run next week in Laguna Seca.
Yeah, that's quite possible. But you know, when you've got a race car that you've been, well, that is some frustration right there. I think that says it all. That's more about the championship than about what just happened. That's the admission that my year is probably done. My championship is probably finished.
So they come in with a 7-point advantage. They're going to leave with probably a 3-point deficit in the point standings.
And here is the car. Now, this started way back on the back straightaway, and it started very small, and clearly it got very, very big.
We saw that belch of flame coming through turn 16. Then we could see some flames under the race car.
Boy, that car is really on fire. And, you know, once they get going, it doesn't take much to get them going, because there's all sorts of combustible materials in there. You know, this carbon fiber bodywork will burn. It is made of carbon, after all, and a lot of flammable resin. So the carbon fiber will burn, and that's mostly what's burning at that stage. The question is, what lit it off?
Wasn't it Kellner's that had the big fire at Le Mans?
Look at the frustration. Look at the frustration. Yeah, the couple of the Porsches burned up. Poor J.J. Lato. Came in here with a nice little points lead, put the car on the pole, and everything is just falling apart for them.
Alexander Wirtz in the pits now. Final pit stop for this Mercedes team. He's sharing the ride with Greg Moore. Look at the airbrush work there on the right front fender.
Yeah, they put some time into the design of that car. Not nearly as much time as they put into the technical design of that car, because that is a very, very sophisticated race car.
Well, as you indicate, each time a new car comes out, it raises the bar as far as technology is concerned.
Yeah, and that is really the big question mark right now. Has the bar been raised to an unreasonable level where to compete at this level, as we said earlier, the reported budget on the Mercedes-Benz program is over $30 million, $34 million to run 3 cars. Well, you know, that's fine if you're Mercedes-Benz, but, you know, Mercedes-Benz won't always be in racing. There's a good shot of Bernd Schneider.
Well, his teammate maintains that healthy lead right now. Klaus Ludwig out in front in car 11. In the final minutes of this racing event, a timed 3-hour event here at Sebring, and the same next week at Laguna Seca as we wrap up the season for the FIA GT cars. Again, another 3-hour timed event on that 2.2-mile racetrack. Lots of elevation changes in the Monterey Peninsula. So we'll take this break as the number 11 Mercedes continues to lead with Klaus Ludwig. Come back with the final laps here at Sebring.
Everyone at Motor Trend magazine is driven. Driven to give you the best. Driven to find everything new and exciting. Driven to showcase the best new trends. And driven to save. Call right now and we'll send you a free issue when you subscribe to 1 year of Motor Trend. That's a savings of 71% off the cover price. We're driven to bring you the most exciting news about the most exciting articles written today. Call right now to reserve your free issue. Motor Trend, driven to give you the best and driven to save. Call right now to reserve your free issue.
The sights and sounds of history's greatest aircraft are alive on Planes of Fame on Speed Vision.
Final laps of the FIA GT round 10 for their championship as we take a look at the Beretta and Gash entry number 51, Olivier Beretta, Philippe Gash, and they are now leading in the GT2 division.
And that's going to hurt their teammate Justin Bell just a little bit.
Justin Bell was only a point out of the points lead.
So that'll mean these two will close in, and that'll mean some interesting decisions for this team when they get to Laguna Seca in terms of trying to win this championship. As you said earlier, Gary, they've already locked up the GT2 team championship, but the drivers championship is still up for grabs.
Well, Claudia Hurtgen and Bruno Eichmann now lead with 55 points. Justin Bell is second with 54. Then the Beretta Gash team has 46 points. They trail by 9. So very much up for grabs, the drivers championship in both the GT1 and GT2 divisions. So if it ends right now, the GT2 lead, or GT1 lead, would go to Bernd Schneider with his 5th victory of the year. He would go from 7 points back in the points to 3 points up over the team of J.J. Lado and Steve Soper as we head off to Laguna Seca next weekend.
This Mercedes-Benz team is just so powerful. Watching them here this weekend, just the way they work, the level of team management and the level of organization, just phenomenal.
There's a look at second overall. Peter Cox now in the car. Roberto Ravaglia started the race. So that BMW McLaren now back in second position.
Yeah, it looks like it's very close to going a lap down here with the leader not far behind, although the leader headed for pit lane. No, the leader has actually not headed for pit lane. He's let his teammate go around. So giving the lap back, or one of the laps back to Wirtz.
Notice how dark it's getting. We had the visibility problem with rain earlier. As you take a look there at the third place in GT1, third place overall, and that is the Panos. That would be the car of Brabham and McCarthy. That would, of course, represent the best finish of the season for the Panos, as they are making great strides to head back to Le Mans next summer.
Yeah, and the big news for this team is that they've just hired Tony Dow, ex-Jaguar Tom Walkinshaw, very experienced. Well, just as we said, they were having a great day. A quick spin leaving the hairpin, followed by a little agricultural work. They've just hired Tony Dow, ex-TWR Jaguar, very experienced in endurance racing, and he's going to manage the Panos effort overall. And he will be a real asset to that team.
So once again up in front, there's your number 11, the Bernd Schneider Klaus Ludwig Mercedes.
You can see a great shot there of the tailpipes, the muffler system inside the bumper there, just glowing.
Final laps of this 3-hour timed event. So we have seen a bit of everything here this weekend, as we indicated earlier, in conjunction with the Professional Sports Car World Sports Car class and the Exxon Supreme GT Series, in addition to the FIA GT cars. Over 200 drivers from 21 different countries. So we have seen a number of drivers that used to run Formula One cars that will be going on to Formula One cars in the future. We should see the checkered flag the next time around for Klaus Ludwig.
Boy, he certainly got offline coming through 15 there. He got very wide of the normal racing line back there. But he certainly slowed the car down now, so we're apparently headed for the finish here.
You see the checkered flag for Klaus Ludwig, and the Mercedes wins again. The 5th win for Bernd Schneider. There is a checkered flag. And this is the 3rd win for Klaus Ludwig.
Yeah, of course, they've not been teamed together.
Now, Bernd also won with Marcel Tiemann and Alexander Wirtz, in addition to the 3 wins now with Klaus Ludwig. So the Mercedes team has shuffled their drivers a bit. And we'll look for the winner in the GT1 class, or GT2 class. And that should be the Beretta Gash Viper. So with the race ending in victory for the number 11 Mercedes, again, the points lead will go to Bernd Schneider by 3 over Steve Soper and J.J. Lato, with round 11, the final race, scheduled next weekend at Monterey. And there is a look at the Viper number 51. And that will be your winner in the GT2 class, Philippe Gash and Olivier Beretta. So they had to race through the offerings of Mother Nature this afternoon. Some very hard rain. At one point, the safety car came out. We were under a full course yellow behind the pace car before we turned them loose again. So these guys have had an excursion in the wet here this afternoon.
And I think a great decision by Chrysler and these Viper teams to take that Viper a notch down from GT1 to GT2. It's been a great year for that team. And they've been much more successful at the GT2 level. As we said, the Viper very close to being a production car, whereas when you look, visually, you can just see the difference with the GT1 cars. They're very, very specialized race cars, whereas this truly is an adapted production car. And a great move by Chrysler and Dodge and all the teams to move this car and develop it for GT2 competition.
And once again, a production model will cost you $60-some thousand in this country, as opposed to a European production model of a Mercedes costing $1 million.
Well, exactly.
And once again, there's the checkered flag for your winner in GT2. Once again, Gash and Beretta in the American-made Viper. So they continue to roll up the points. They've already kind of clinched the team or manufacturers championship for Chrysler.
For over 40 years, one magazine has captured America's love affair with automobiles better than any other. Car and Driver. And if you act now, you can get a full year subscription for only $14.97. Each month, Car and Driver brings you the inside story on what's hot and what's not in the automotive world. You'll get the first sneak previews of today's new cars, plus straight talk from the industry's most respected journalists. And no other magazine gives you more road tests than Car and Driver. Comparison and head-to-head testing that pulls no punches, pitting car against car, from premier luxury vehicles to SUVs to affordable compact models. And if you call now, we'll include with your paid subscription this classic Car and Driver logo windbreaker, a guaranteed great look both on the road and off. Call 1-800-825-7581 right now to order a full year of Car and Driver for just $14.97, a savings of more than $25 over the newsstand price. Call now.
The podium here at Sebring, where the Mercedes team takes the win, the BMW McLaren second. As you take a look, the Schneider and Ludwig team Mercedes, there's Ravaglia and Cox in second, and Brabham and McCarthy in third. What a great day for the Panos team. As you take a look now at the points for the drivers, again, 3 points separating the top 3 right now. Klaus Ludwig back and forth. You take a look at the team, the manufacturers. There's Mercedes leading by 15 over BMW.
And that'll be a lock for Mercedes with a 15-point lead. Here's the GT2 standings. Gash and Beretta take the win. Justin Bell, Tommy Archer in second. And that moves Justin Bell up into the points lead in GT2 from his teammates, Gash and Beretta.
And once again, we indicated that the Viper team had already clinched the manufacturer's title.
And there they are, 116 points over the Rook Porsche team. And again, I think a great decision by Chrysler to move that car into GT2 competition this year.
So now it's time to dry off, pack up, and head west, young man, as we get out of here and head out to the Monterey Peninsula, Monterey, California, and the 40th anniversary season of Laguna Seca, as we'll wrap up the FIA GT Championship in 1 week. So for Jeremy Dale, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us. So long from Sebring.
The FIA GT Championship. Thank you all very much for coming out to join us today. We appreciate your attendance. We hope to see you in the spring. Please, on your way home, drive safely.
Hello, welcome to Speed Vision and welcome to our coverage of the German Super Touring Car Cup. My name's Martin Haven and we're here at the Nürburgring in Germany.
So the afternoon is over, the race is over, the season is over. Ricardo Zonta is the man who is on his way to Formula One. That is what you strive for when you start this season. It is long and it's grueling, but for that man there about to take the champagne right in the middle, it was successful.
So that wraps it up from the south of Spain. For Derek Daly, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us. So long, everybody. The 1997 FIA GT season wraps up in beautiful Monterey, California at historic Laguna Seca Raceway. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Lee alongside Jeremy Dale and Dorsey Schrader. And technology really is the byword of this type of racing.
Yeah, the technology has really been on the upswing the last couple of years with these GT cars. In 1995, the McLaren debuted, and everyone was really amazed at the technology in that car. A year after that, along comes the Porsche, and everyone said, wow, look at this piece. And then a year after that, the Mercedes shows up, and everyone says, well, maybe we're going a little too far with the technology, and that's where we are now.
Well, of course, the points championship is really up for grabs.
Well, after last week's win, Bernd Schneider now 3 points in the lead over Lato and Soper. And after the fire at Sebring, that car's been rebuilt, but it's only qualified 9th here today.
Well, we'll take this break and come back with the starting lineup for this 3-hour event from Laguna Seca.
This Speed Vision program is brought to you by Porsche, who wish to remind you there is no substitute.
The legendary Nürburgring. It sounds crazy, but they let anyone drive on this world-famous racetrack for just a few Deutschmarks. It was here that Porsche engineers tested our 911 Turbo. lap after lap of the 400 horsepower engine, the twin turbos, the liquid all-wheel drive. What did we learn? Well, don't send a German engineer here with an ATM card.
Are you tired of playing Twister with messy rope, tape, and twist ties? Then you need the Handy Bundler, the world's first endless tie wrap dispenser. No matter what the size, Handy Bundler tightens to a perfect fit every time and secures anything as easy as 1, 2, 3. Now neatly wrap cable and TV wires for a better appearance. Tie garbage bags tight in seconds. Look, ordinary tie wraps just aren't long enough, but the Handy Bundler's cord extends to any size, large or small. It wraps them all. You'll find hundreds of uses for the Handy Bundler around the shop, at home, in the office, and on the job. You get the Handy Bundler, over 50 feet of durable nylon strapping, and 100 locking clips, all for $19.95. And it comes with this unconditional money-back guarantee. Order now.
Call 1-800-324-1881 or send $19.95 plus $5.95 shipping to the address on your screen. For faster delivery, call 1-800-324-1881.
Welcome back to Laguna Seca. Gary Lee in the broadcast booth alongside Jeremy Dale and Dorsey Schrader. We have two pit reporters today. First, we go to Calvin Fish.
Championship leader Bernd Schneider starts today's race from the outside of the front row in the number 11 Mercedes. He scored 5 victories this year, but not all of them have been popular with the other teams. At Suzuka and the A1 ring, Bernd actually switched cars halfway through the event, scoring valuable points. After this sequence of events, the other teams protested, and they've actually changed the rules now that the teams have to nominate their drivers after the warm-up, and this means that Bernd Schneider will not be able to switch cars once the race has started. And for a story about another very tight championship battle, I'll turn you over to my man in the pits, Greg Creamer.
Well, thanks very much, Calvin. Indeed, the points battle in GT2, very tight indeed. 5 drivers are in this one by himself and 2 sets of teammates. Now, the interesting thing here is this car, this is the Viper number 51, 2 of the teammates, Philippe Gache and Olivier Beretta, are second in the points, tied behind Justin Bell. Justin, in a team car, is running with Tommy Archer, but in between the two of them on the grid are 2 Porsches. And those are the other 2 drivers. Claudia Hertzgen and Bruno Eichmann have been sharing the same car all year, tied essentially for third in the points. They're running 2 separate cars to make this battle a little bit tougher on the Vipers, have to make them go to the front and drive hard, rely on Porsche reliability.
Thanks, Greg. I'm sure we'll keep you guys busy down there. We'll take this break and come back with our starting lineup.
If you're a real car enthusiast, you should be reading Auto Week every week. For true car lovers, once a month is not enough.
Auto Week has the latest news because it's a weekly. You can stay up on top of everything.
All the new models, concept cars, SUVs, even collector cars are in Auto Week every week.
Auto Week will give you information on new models that really isn't available anywhere else.
All the racing news and analysis you could ever want when it's still hot.
I'm into going racing with my buddies, and Auto Week gives us information to talk about before it's old news.
Anything with wheels, Auto Week has.
Call 1-800-445-3800 for 52 weeks of Auto Week and get these 3 special issues free. Places, the ultimate shopping guide, and our complete racing fan guide with track maps, driver profiles, everything. All for just $24.95. Call 1-800-445-3800 now for Auto Week.
If you only had time for 1 car magazine, Auto Week would be the one to read.
Call now.
For in-air product reviews, instructional programming, safety tips, and new product introductions in the field of aviation, zero in on the wonderful world of flying, only on Speed Vision.
Stop number 11, the final race of the 1997 FIA GT Series, as we take a look now at the starting lineup. And only 3 Mercedes in the field, and they're starting 1, 2, and 3. Alexander Wirtz will start from the pole position, teaming with Greg Moore. Outside the front row is Bernd Schneider, who hopes to not only win the race, but also the championship. He leads by some 3 points in the championship. In the second row, Alessandro Nannini will go alongside Alan McNish. McNish in the first Porsche in the starting lineup. And in the third row, it's Yannick Damas in number 7. Number 9 is Peter Cox. In the fourth row, Hans Stuck will team with Terry Boutsen, along with Steve Soper and J.J. Lato, starting outside the fourth row. As we